In this video, we're going to talk about multiplying polynomials together. So in our first example, we have one term, a monomial, being multiplied by a trinomial, which has three terms. So because we're multiplying one piece by a whole bunch of different terms, we have to distribute, or remember to distribute, this monomial to each of the terms in our second polynomial. So first, we're going to multiply together negative 2x to the fourth times 3x squared. So off to the side, I'm just going to show us what we're really doing. And remember, when we multiply with exponents, we multiply the coefficients, so we would get negative 6, and then we add the exponents, we get x to the 6th power. We're going to do the same thing for the next one, so negative 2x to the fourth times negative x. And again, you don't normally have to show this work over here. I just wanted to show you where these numbers are coming from. So if I multiply these coefficients together, we really get negative 2 times negative 1, which is a positive 2. X to the fourth times an x to the first is really an x to the 5th power. And then we do the same thing, negative 2x to the fourth times 9. So we get negative 18x to the 4th power. This would be our final answer. This is the product of multiplying this monomial by this trinomial. So now let's look at an example where we have more than one term. So in this first polynomial, we have two terms. We have 5x and a plus 3. In our second polynomial, we also have two terms, a 2x and a negative 3. So when we multiply, we are going to have to multiply 5x by the entire second binomial and the positive 3 by the entire second binomial. So there are a few ways we can do this. I'm going to show you two different methods really quickly. The first one is just the distributive property. So we have to remember that we are going to distribute each term in the first binomial to each term in the second binomial. So starting with 5x, I'm going to multiply that to 2x, and we get 10x squared. And then 5x times negative 3 would be negative 15x. We're going to do the same thing now, but I'm going to distribute this 3. 3 times 2x is 6x, and 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Well, when I'm looking at my product so far, I notice that I have like terms in the middle. They're both just x's, so we can combine those. So we get 10x squared, and then minus 9x minus 9. And this would be our final answer. The other way that we can organize this is using a box or an area model. So I have two terms by two terms, so I'm going to make a box that's got two spaces on the height and two spaces on the width. This is a lot like a Punnett square. So I'm going to take our first binomial and put it on the top. It doesn't actually matter which side. Make sure you keep the sign with each term. And then the second binomial is going to go on the other side. So we are just going to find the area of each square. So this square, or box I guess, is 2x tall and 5x wide, so that would end up giving us 10x squared. This box is 3 spaces long by 2x spaces high, so that would give us 6x spaces, or area. This box would be 5x units long and negative 3 units tall, so we get negative 15x units squared. And then we get a negative 9 for that last box. Again, we are now adding up each of these little boxes to get the area of the whole thing. So we're combining like terms where we can. Again, we can combine these two because they're both x's. So our final answer should be 10x squared minus 9x minus 9. So in this next example, we have two terms being multiplied by three terms. So the idea is exactly the same. We are either going to use the distributive property and distribute it all out, or we are going to use the box and multiply it all out. So I want you guys to pause the video and try it on your own, and then check your answer, and I will show work for both of them. So here is the final answer using both methods. One thing I want to point out, the most common mistake that we see is when people distribute the x to the 2x squared, they forget to change the exponent to get 2x to the third. Remember, x is really like an invisible x to the first power when we don't see it, so we still have to remember to combine those exponents. Also, if you're using the box method, we could have switched this and I could have made it 3 spaces tall and 2 spaces wide. It doesn't matter as long as your polynomial, the entire thing is on the same side. So one last example, we have something like this, 2x minus 5 whole quantity squared. This problem is the most common thing that kids miss because they try to take this exponent and distribute it to each of these. But we have to remember what Mr. Chrisman said in his video, that the base of an exponent has to be multiplied by itself. So if I'm squaring 2x minus 5, I'm not individually squaring them. I'm squaring their entire quantity. So that really becomes 2x minus 5 times 2x minus 5. Well, now we have 2 terms by 2 terms, so we can't just distribute pieces of this. We have to multiply out the entire thing. So again, using either method that you want, we end up with 4x squared minus 10x minus 10x and plus 25. So your final answer should be 4x squared minus 20x plus 25. Without doing this, rewriting it as a binomial times itself, kids tend to make the mistake of taking this exponent of 2 and distributing it out. That would be 4x squared plus 25. So you can see that they're missing that middle term. That happens when we don't actually multiply the entire thing out all the way. So make sure you're thinking about what the base actually is. So this is no, don't do this over here, mistake. Okay?